Have you ever sat quietly in your favorite chair, maybe with a cup of tea in hand, and thought, where did everyone go? Maybe friends have moved away. Some may no longer be with us. Or perhaps over time, the calls stopped coming as often, and the invitations faded. It can feel a little lonely at first, can't it? That space where friendship used to be. It can seem like something's missing. But here's a gentle thought. What if that space isn't empty, but wide open? Open for you, for peace, for clarity, for freedom, and for happiness that isn't tied to anyone else's schedule, moods, or expectations. See, after 70, something changes. And it's not just in our bodies, it's in our spirit. We grow wiser. We start seeing things for what they are. And one of those truths is this: you don't need friends to feel whole, not anymore. Now, before you think I'm saying friendships are bad, not at all. Some friendships last a lifetime and are treasures beyond words. But if your circle has gotten smaller or even disappeared, you're not broken. You're not failing. You might just be stepping into a new phase of independence. And in many ways, that can be a blessing. In this video, I want to share with you 6 heartfelt reasons why life after 70 doesn't require a crowd to feel full. Why embracing independence can lead to more peace, more confidence, and even more joy. And if you've ever felt unsure about being alone more often these days, I hope what we talk about today helps you see your life and your time in a new light. So let's sit together for a few minutes. No rush, just you and me. And let's start with this. You've earned the right to put yourself first. For decades, maybe you were the caretaker for your children, your spouse, your parents, or your co-workers. You probably spent more time worrying about other people than you did about yourself. And while there's beauty in that, there comes a time when constantly putting others first starts to wear us down. At this stage in life, you no longer need to stretch yourself to meet everyone else's needs. And honestly, the older we get, the less energy we have for those friendships that take more than they give. You might have noticed this, how some people only call when they want something, or how a lunch invitation comes with gossip or complaints you didn't ask for. That's not friendship. That's a one-sided deal, and the truth is, it's okay to let that go. You're not obligated to keep people in your life who drain your spirit. You're not selfish for choosing peace over company. There's a quiet strength in sitting with yourself, in listening to your own thoughts, in enjoying your own company. That strength comes from within, and it gets stronger when you stop chasing people who don't see your worth. You also become more selective with your time. After 70, every day feels more precious, doesn't it? The calendar pages seem to turn faster, the mornings are quieter, and that stillness gives you space to reflect. Suddenly, you realize you don't want to spend your time on shallow conversations, awkward small talk, or making plans you're not excited about. Maybe you've noticed that saying no comes easier now. You no longer feel the pressure to show up just to keep others happy. That's a powerful place to be. You begin choosing how to spend your time based on what feels good to your soul, not based on guilt, obligation, or fear of missing out. And once you embrace that freedom, you realize that fewer social commitments actually lead to more peace of mind. Think about this. How often have you felt tired after a visit with someone rather than uplifted? It's not uncommon, especially as we get older. Sometimes what used to feel like connection now feels like a chore, and that's not your fault. You've simply grown, you've shifted. Your spirit wants something deeper, or perhaps just more calm, and you no longer need constant interaction to feel fulfilled. Another gentle truth is this: solitude lets you reconnect with who you are, not who you used to be for everyone else. When we're surrounded by people all the time, it's easy to get caught up in their stories, their needs, their emotions. And slowly, without even realizing it, we can lose touch with our own voice, our own likes and dislikes, our own dreams. But now, in this chapter of life, the silence that once felt empty can become sacred. You might find yourself picking up old hobbies again, painting, reading, gardening, even writing down your thoughts in a notebook. You might find joy in the simple things, like watching the birds outside your window or cooking a new dish just for yourself. That's not loneliness. That's connection to yourself, and that kind of connection is powerful. It teaches you how to be content on your own. It shows you that you don't need validation from others to feel valuable. You are enough, just as you are, with your stories, with your wrinkles, with your heart that has loved and lost and still keeps beating strong. You also become your own best friend. When we're younger, we're taught to surround ourselves with people, go out, be social, make friends. But no one teaches us how to befriend ourselves, how to talk to ourselves kindly, how to comfort ourselves, how to enjoy our own presence. That's something we often discover later in life, usually through the quiet moments. And when you do, it's like discovering a secret you wish you knew years ago. You stop judging yourself so harshly. You stop looking at your past with regret. You start forgiving yourself. And in those moments, you find a gentleness that no one else can give you because it comes from inside. If you're spending more time alone these days, I invite you to look at it not as a loss, but as a gift, a chance to finally put your own needs at the center of your life, a chance to move at your own pace, to wake up without pressure, to do things because you want to, not because anyone expects you to. That's not isolation. That's independence. And it can be truly beautiful. Now, if you've been enjoying this conversation so far, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us reach more wonderful people like you, folks who are ready to embrace this chapter of life with more confidence and joy. Plus, it lets us know this kind of content matters to you. Now that we've spent a little time exploring why peace and independence can feel better than certain friendships, let's keep going. Because there's even more waiting for you when you stop trying to fit into the idea that you always need people around to be happy. Because there's even more waiting for you when you stop trying to fit into the idea that you always need people around to be happy. You see, after a certain point in life, we begin to realize something truly freeing. We don't have to explain ourselves anymore. We don't have to prove anything. And we sure don't have to keep up with anyone else's pace. That includes friendships. For so many years, it might have felt like you had to keep certain relationships alive, out of habit or history or just plain politeness. But the truth is, time doesn't always mean closeness. Some people can be in your life for 50 years and still not understand who you really are today. And the person you are today, that version of you, deserves space, deserves rest, deserves joy without performance. When you let go of friendships that no longer feel natural, you're not giving up on people. You're giving yourself permission to stop pretending. You no longer have to smile through conversations. You don't enjoy or agree just to keep the peace. You can simply be you. This kind of authenticity only comes when we stop seeking approval outside of ourselves. It's not about being cold or distant, quite the opposite. It's about returning to what's real. And sometimes what's real is the peace of a quiet morning, the joy of a slow walk without anyone talking over your thoughts, or the comfort of knowing that you don't have to explain your choices to anyone anymore. Now that might sound a little strange at first, especially if you were raised to be social, helpful, and always available. But let me ask you, when was the last time you really checked in with what you wanted? Not what someone else needed or what your old routine suggested, but what you, in your heart, truly wanted in that moment. When you start tuning into yourself more often, you'll notice something beautiful. Your energy starts to come back. Not in the same way it used to when you were younger, buzzing from one thing to the next, but in a softer, steadier way. The kind of energy that comes from living without pressure, without pretending, without constantly worrying about being enough for anyone else. That's when you begin to reclaim your inner peace. And let's be honest, peace is priceless. After 70, peace becomes one of the most important gifts you can give yourself. No more drama, no more unnecessary noise, no more being pulled in directions you never wanted to go. It's just you, your time, your rhythm. And when you protect, that you begin to feel lighter. Even your body responds. The tension in your shoulders eases, your sleep improves, and your heart feels less burdened. There's a reason so many people after 70 say they finally feel like they can breathe again. It's because they've stopped living for others and started living for themselves. They've stopped trying to keep friendships alive that haven't felt right in years, and instead of feeling lonely, they feel free. Isn't that something? And this part is important too. You also begin to appreciate the deeper connections, the few that really matter. When your circle gets smaller, it doesn't mean your heart does. In fact, it often means the opposite. You may have one or two people, maybe a neighbor, a family member, or even just a kind acquaintance who you enjoy talking to now and then. And that's enough. You don't need a group. You don't need weekly get-togethers or endless phone calls to feel seen. Sometimes a single genuine smile or a few words from someone who respects your space means more than years of forced friendship. And here's the funny thing. When you stop chasing friendships just for the sake of having them, the right ones start to find you. Maybe at the park, maybe in a class, maybe through a shared interest you pick up later in life. But you're meeting them from a place of peace, not pressure. That changes everything. The energy is different, it's lighter, it's more honest. You also start to rediscover your independence. And this is something people often underestimate. There's this old belief that after a certain age, we become dependent on our families, on caregivers, on others to entertain or check in on us. But many folks I've spoken to in their 70s and beyond have said the exact opposite. They're finally learning how strong they really are. They're making decisions based on what suits them. They're planning their days around their own needs. They're even finding joy in the smallest acts of freedom, choosing what to wear, what to eat, when to rest, and when to explore. They don't need someone by their side 24/7 to feel safe or happy. They've learned how to navigate life with more self-trust than ever before. And yes, there may be moments of solitude that feel heavy, especially around holidays or on quiet evenings. That's normal. But the difference now is that you don't have to fear those moments because you've learned how to sit with yourself. You've learned how to comfort yourself. You've learned that peace isn't the absence of people. It's the presence of self-understanding. So if your days look simpler now, if your phone is quieter, if your calendar is wide open, don't see that as something missing. See it as a canvas. A wide open space for you to fill with what you want, whether it's quiet walks, favorite shows, trying something new, or just letting yourself be. You might be surprised how full life still is, even without the constant noise of friendship circles, even without all the social plans. Sometimes, the less we try to hold on to the old ways of connecting, the more we find ourselves reconnecting with the one person we've always needed most, our own self. Now, if you've been nodding along or feeling like this speaks to your heart in some way, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people like you find content that's meant to support them, not just in staying healthy, but in staying whole. And we're not done yet, and because there's even more peace, power, and possibility to explore as you embrace this chapter of independence. Let's keep going. Because there's even more peace, power, and possibility to explore as you embrace this chapter of independence. Now here's something we often don't say out loud, but it's true. After 70, you no longer need to carry anyone else's emotional weight. For years, you might have been the one who listened, who offered advice, who held others up when they were down. You may have taken on others' sadness, anger, or chaos, thinking it was your job to help fix it, to keep things together, but now you get to put that weight down. You're not here to be anyone's emotional dumping ground. You're not here to carry guilt over friendships that faded. You've done your part, and more importantly, you've done it with love. That's enough. Now, it's time for others to carry their own loads. You've earned the right to protect your peace, not just from noise and busyness, but from emotional overload too. And what replaces that emotional burden is something much more precious: emotional clarity. Without the constant pull of other people's problems, you begin to see your own feelings more clearly. You start understanding what brings you peace, what stirs your joy, and what deserves your energy. It's like finally turning down the volume on a noisy room and realizing how much beauty there is in the quiet. This clarity allows you to make choices that nourish your spirit, not out of obligation, but out of true desire. You might find yourself waking up one morning and deciding, today I'm going to treat myself kindly, and you do it. You eat something you love. You take a walk just because the sun feels good on your face. You write a few lines in a notebook. You laugh at a silly memory. And in those little moments, you feel something powerful. You feel content, without needing anyone else to validate it. That's the real gift of independence, contentment that comes from within. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. Another thing that happens when you lean into independence is that you start living more in the present moment. Friendships often come with a lot of past, shared history, memories, expectations, and while that can be lovely, it can also keep you tied to old versions of yourself. When those friendships drift away, it can feel like you're letting go of your identity. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is this: you're shedding the version of yourself that existed for others. And now you're creating space to meet yourself as you are now. Not who you were at 40, not who they remember you as at 55, but who you are today, with all your wisdom, your quirks, your softness, and your quiet strength. When you spend more time alone, you begin to live in the now. You notice the way light falls through the window in the afternoon. You savor your meals more slowly. You listen to music that stirs something inside you, not because it's trendy or someone recommended it, but because it speaks to your soul. This kind of present moment living is a gift, and often it only becomes possible when we stop filling every hour with noise and people. And that brings me to something many people are surprised to discover after 70. Life still has surprises, still has new joys, still has room for personal growth. You don't stop growing just because your social calendar thins out. In fact, when you spend less time maintaining surface relationships, you make room for new layers of yourself to unfold. You may decide to try something you never dared before. A painting class, learning how to use new technology, even joining an online community where age is a badge of honor, not a limitation. The irony is, when you embrace your independence, you actually open yourself up to new connections. But this time, they're born from who you really are, not who you've been expected to be. You stop feeling pressure to be interesting or entertaining and start focusing on being genuine. And when that happens, even brief encounters with strangers can become meaningful. A short conversation at the store, a wave to a neighbor, a kind comment on something you posted. These small moments start to shine brighter because you're not chasing big, dramatic friendships anymore. You're simply showing up as you are. And that's more than enough. So as we bring this gentle conversation to a close, let's take a moment to sit with what we've explored. You don't need a long list of friends to feel whole. You don't need to keep up with everyone to be happy. What you do need is a sense of peace in your own company, a trust in your inner voice, and the freedom to live each day in a way that honors who you are now. Letting go of friendships, or watching them drift, can be hard at first. It can feel like loss, but often it's a clearing, a gentle invitation to step into a more authentic life, one where you stop measuring your value by how many people call or visit and start recognizing your worth by how you feel when you're alone. You are not less loved because you are less surrounded. You are not less valuable because you are less busy. You are not less connected because your phone is quiet. You are you, wise, seasoned, strong, and still growing, still learning, still open to joy. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing. If this message resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel, not just to support us, though we appreciate that deeply, but because it helps build a space where more people like you can feel seen, supported, and encouraged. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Has your view of friendship changed over time? Have you found peace in your independence? Or maybe you're just starting to explore this chapter. Wherever you are, your story matters. Share it. You never know who it might help. Here's to living your best life, not someday, not before, but now, quietly, confidently, and on your own beautiful terms. You've earned it.